Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share, and subscribe. Enjoy today's episode.
Tier Divine Artifact. Zhou Zhou returned to the Blazing Sun Palace with Li Ye after they reached the Blazing Sun Kingdom. How do you feel today? Zhou Zhou held Li Ye's hand and asked with a smile before she returned to Cunning Palace. The war between races is too terrifying. It's completely different from the war between kingdoms I've seen before. Li Ye recalled the race she had seen on the Galaxy Leader. It involved the battle of more than 1 trillion soldiers, the battle of thousands of god spirits, and the battle of dozens of true god tiers. It left a deep impression on her. The ultimate goal of the Kingdom War is to expand the territory. There's no hope of not leaving it for the subjects of this country. Even if the subjects don't have their own country, they can still go to other countries to reunite with their people. But a war between races is a war of pure genocide. After the war between races, only one of the two races can live in this world openly. The loser can only become the slave of the victor, or even be exterminated without leaving a single one alive. The life forms of the races that are lucky enough to survive will not only lose their country, they will even lose their race. They will become the loneliest living beings in the world. Just as Zhou Zhou thought that Li Ye was going to be more sentimental, he saw her expression suddenly become more determined. She grabbed Zhou Zhou's hands and said seriously, "Your Majesty, you must eliminate all evil in the future. Don't leave any members of the enemy race who are unwilling to surrender alive. I will take care of the internal affairs so that Your Majesty will have no worries and focus on fighting for our country and even the human race. I hope that we humans will never experience what the Shadow Clan experienced today. Anyone who dares to show their fangs to us humans deserves to die, even if they are exterminated by us." Zhou Zhou looked at Li Ye, who was looking at him with a determined expression. Then, a smile appeared on his face. He felt gratified. Upon hearing the first half of her words, he thought that she couldn't bear to see such a scene of genocide. He realized that he had guessed wrongly after hearing the latter half of her words. How could the woman he had taken a fancy to not understand his position in such a matter and feel pity for him? One had to know that as the princess of a country, she had experienced the destruction of the Aurora Kingdom. She had even been stabbed to death by an assassin from an enemy country. If not for Zhou Zhou, be it Li Ye or her father's Aurora Kingdom, they would probably have been destroyed by the Taiyan Kingdom long ago. Not to mention that Li Ye had experienced a huge incident like the retreat of the human race to the primordial world that affected the entire human race. With such an experience, she naturally would not sympathize with these enemies who had bared their fangs at the human race and even wanted to exterminate the human race. Sympathy? It would be more accurate to say that she wished they could all die. Don't worry, your husband has never been lenient with his enemies. I will never let my kingdom and my human race leave behind any future troubles because of my mercy." Zhou Zhou held her in his arms and stroked her hair. "I have faith in Your Majesty," Li Ye said gently in Zhou Zhou's arms. The two of them stood together and whispered to each other for a while before Li Ye left reluctantly. Zhou Zhou did not covet the love affair. After bidding farewell to Li Ye, he went straight to the Blazing Sun Palace. Zhou Zhou sat on the throne and was looking at a treasured saber in his hand in the meeting hall at the Blazing Sun Palace. This treasured saber was half the height of a person, and its entire body was dark purple. At the same time, the surface was covered in a layer of dark purple nomological engravings, revealing the profound and cold nomological mysteries. The blade of his shone brightly. Zhou Zhou looked over and seemed to be able to vaguely observe a supreme, great lunar netherworld on the surface of the blade. There were all sorts of elemental creatures and ghosts fighting coldly and decisively inside. They seemed to have been born to kill. All kinds of killing manuals appeared endlessly, precisely forming a race civilization with killing as the core. It was the main divine artifact that he had acquired from Aces, the great lunar extinction lifeless demonic blade. Previously, it was inconvenient to take it out to check when he was in the territory of the Shadow Clan. This was a master god-tier divine artifact after all. It would definitely cause the globe to change once it appeared. It might even attract the attention of a top-notch master god tier. Not every master god-tier god spirit possessed a master god-tier divine artifact. Before he dealt with Uriel, he had no intention of exposing the fact that he already had a master god-tier divine artifact. Now that he had returned to his divine kingdom, he did not have so many scruples. No matter how strong a master god-tier god spirit was, it was impossible for him to see through what he was doing in the divine kingdom. His divine kingdom was in the supreme domain after all. Even the supreme god realm and the great lunar and great solar regals would not dare to casually pry into what was happening in the supreme domain. Let me take a good look at what's so good about this master god-tier divine artifact. Zhou Zhou looked over expectantly, and a text notification appeared. Divine artifact name: the Great Lunar Extinction Lifeless Demonic Blade. Divine artifact grade: Master God Tier Intermediate grade. Divine artifact nomological law 1. Great Lunar Exterminating Boundless Universe. The Great Lunar Extinction Lifeless Demonic Blade contains a boundless universe with the two complete nomological laws, Great Lunar and Exterminating, as the core. Furthermore, the existing beings inside precisely use the Great Lunar and Exterminating nomological laws as the core to create an ancient race civilization called Lifeless. They also call themselves the Lifeless Race. As the master of the Great Lunar Extinction Lifeless Demonic Blade, one could mobilize all the resources in the boundless universe at will, including god spirits, extraordinary tier life forms, ordinary life forms, and other intelligent existences. The existing beings and god spirits of this boundless universe all contain the mark of the main divine artifact in their origin cores. They will be loyal to the owner of the Great Lunar Extinction Lifeless Demonic Blade, and the owner will be provided with endless and pure power of faith. Divine Artifact Nomological Law 2. Great Lunar Ultimate Divine Destruction Origin Saber Chi. By using the Great Lunar Extinction Lifeless Demonic Blades, Great Lunar Ultimate Divine Destruction Origin Saber Chi, it can release an existence that can kill master gods and advance greats. It can easily destroy any world. The specific power depended on the number of Great Lunar Ultimate Divine Destruction Origin Saber Chi used. The more there were, the stronger the power. Otherwise, the weaker it was. The Great Lunar Ultimate Divine Destruction Origin Saber Chi came from the will of the dead existences in the Great Lunar Exterminating Boundless Universe. The more existences that died in the boundless universe, the stronger the will of the dead existences. The more Great Lunar Ultimate Divine Destruction Origin Saber Chi they could collect, the more they could not exterminate the life forms of the various races in the globe in order to collect a large number of Great Lunar Ultimate Divine Destruction Origin Saber Chi at once. Otherwise, they would not collect too much Great Lunar Ultimate Divine Destruction Origin Saber Chi. Divine Artifact Nomological Law 3. Great Lunar Origin. The Great Lunar Extinction Lifeless Demonic Blade contains the complete origin of the Great Lunar Law origin. The owner of the Master God Tier Divine Artifact can enter with his soul to comprehend the mysteries of the Great Lunar Law at any time. Divine Artifact Nomological Law 4. Extinction Origin. The Great Lunar Extinction Lifeless Demonic Blade contains the complete origin of the Extinction Law. The owner of the main artifact can enter it with his soul and understand the mystery of the Extinction Law at any time. Prompt. It can recognize its master. The lowest level is the will-like light realm. After reading it, Zhou Zhou couldn't help but gasp. Good God! This was actually a master god-tier divine artifact with two complete laws at the same time. Furthermore, it was the Great Lunar Law and the Extermination Law that were extremely powerful in combat, as expected of a master god-tier intermediate grade divine artifact. This alone didn't disappoint him. In the future, if he or his subordinates desired to comprehend the Great Lunar Law or the Extinction Law more easily, they could directly enter the main divine artifact's nomological origin to comprehend it. It was definitely 1,000 times simpler than comprehending it in the outside world. Other than that, there was also a boundless universe with these two laws as the core. There was nothing strange about a divine artifact containing a world. Many true God-tier divine artifacts and master God-tier divine artifacts had their own worlds that were exclusive to the divine artifacts to accommodate their own laws. At the same time, Having his own world of divine artifacts was also very helpful to the development of the divine artifact itself. For example, his Sword of New Dimension creation naturally contained a world origin. Later on, after Zhou Zhou invested all kinds of treasures, the world origin had officially opened up a middle world and was rapidly developing in the direction of the boundless universe. Its grade had already advanced from the original true god tier intermediate grade divine artifact to a true god tier advanced grade divine artifact. When the middle world inside it officially evolved into the boundless universe, there was a high chance that it would evolve into a master divine artifact. However, this would take a long time. Speaking of which, Zhou Zhou was not surprised that this master god tier intermediate grade divine artifact had its own boundless universe. What surprised Zhou Zhou was that it had already formed a complete and mature race civilization in the boundless universe. Lifeless race. Even though this race sounds strange, as long as they are a complete race, then their value is immeasurable. Furthermore, the Great Lunar Extinction Lifeless Demonic Blade is a master god tier divine artifact with a boundless universe. Those who can be called an ancient race in the boundless universe will definitely give birth to existences at the true god tier level. It's impossible to be a master god tier. Once a master god tier existence is born in the boundless universe, they will immediately be expelled from the boundless universe. And I can command all the lives in the great lunar exterminating boundless universe at will. Doesn't that mean that all the true god tier, god spirits, and even all the extraordinary tier soldiers in the boundless universe can be used by me? Zhou Zhou's eyes shone brightly. If that was the case, his strength and influence would skyrocket because of this master divine artifact. Good God. I originally considered that I had only obtained a normal master god tier divine artifact. I didn't expect to obtain a super military camp. Moreover, it's a super military camp that is completely loyal to me and can provide me with an endless stream of faith power. Zhou Zhou muttered to himself. This trip to the Shadow Clan was simply profitable. Not to mention, this master god tier intermediate grade divine artifact actually had a super offensive law skill from the Great Lunar Ultimate Divine Destruction Origin Saber Chi. A full-strength Great Lunar Ultimate Divine Destruction Origin Saber Chi could even kill an existence at master god tier advanced grade. When he considered of this, he could not help but hold his breath. Master God tier advanced grade. It was definitely a top-notch expert in the myriad worlds. It was also the strongest existence who could interfere in the Lord of all races battle. Existences at the Supreme God realm and above could not personally interfere with the Lord of all races competition, which meant, as long as he could use this master God divine artifact normally, he would basically have nothing to fear when facing super clan protecting experts of all races in the future. In fact, all races should be afraid of me. I will run to the door and kill the super expert opposite me with a single strike if they dare to anger me, he considered to himself. However, he woke up in no time. No, I still can't be too arrogant. The reason why top races are called top races is definitely not only because they have the protection of master god tier experts. More importantly, they have an incomparably deep racial heritage and endless racial trump cards. It's true that the Supreme God Realm can attack casually, but it doesn't mean that they can't bring out a Supreme God Realm trump card. This Great Lunar Extinction Lifeless Demonic Blade can at most give me the ability to protect myself and make other people of foreign races fear me in the future. However, it definitely doesn't give me the ability to run amok among the myriad races in the world. I still need to be careful. The matter of tyranny should be done within the lords of the myriad races, Zhou Zhou thought to himself. Then, he viewed at the last line of notifications on the Master God Divine artifact. Does it need my will to recognize me as its master? Fortunately, I can. Zhou Zhou did not hesitate and immediately sent his will into the Great Lunar Extinction Lifeless Demonic Blade. His willpower had already reached the standard, and he was a god spirit of the Lord's laws. He could easily obtain the approval of the spirit of the Master God tier divine artifact and successfully recognized him as its master. However, since his realm was insufficient, He was temporarily unable to use most of the main functions of this Master God tier divine artifact. There were only two main abilities that he could use normally. The first was that he could summon the god spirits in the great lunar exterminating boundless universe and summon them from the Master God tier's boundless universe to his territory to fight for him. The second was to enter the nomological origin of the Master God tier divine artifact with his divine sense and comprehend the great lunar law and the extermination law inside. Zhou Zhou was not excited about the latter. It was only comprehending Master God tier laws after all. He could easily bring out two Master God tier books of the God Spirit to achieve the same or even better effect. He still needed to comprehend the former. The latter was directly pouring law comprehension into the user's brain. What he viewed forward to the most was naturally to use the functions of the God Spirits in the boundless universe. How many God Spirits are there in the great lunar exterminating boundless universe? And how many true God tier's God Spirits are there? Zhou Zhou questioned curiously. The great lunar extinction lifeless demonic blade vibrated slightly and sent a message to him. After Zhou Zhou understood this message, he raised his eyebrows slightly. You're saying that there are a total of 11 true God tiers and more than 1,500 God spirits of the lifeless race in your boundless universe? He asked. This Master God tier divine artifact shook again to express its affirmation. When Zhou Zhou heard that, his eyes revealed a hint of doubt. According to the artifact spirit of the main divine artifact of the great lunar extinction lifeless demonic blade, the living beings in this boundless universe adhered to the principle of racial development. Only by killing and defeating their enemies could they become true experts. Therefore, even though there were not many life forms in this world, almost all of them who survived were experts, and the probability of them becoming gods was extremely high. However, that didn't sound like a lot, about the same strength as the Shadow Clan. The great lunar extinction lifeless demonic blade appeared to have sensed Zhou Zhou's thoughts. It shook the blade in dissatisfaction before sending another message. After Zhou Zhou learned of this information, his body trembled as he hurriedly said, You're saying that your 11 true God tiers God spirits have reached true God tier advanced grade, while those 1,500 odd God spirits are all high tier deity level God spirits. There aren't any God spirits of other levels. He widened his eyes. The great lunar extinction lifeless demonic blade trembled slightly again, facing his master's doubts. It was very satisfied with Zhou Zhou's reaction while expressing its affirmation. Zhou Zhou viewed incredulous. How is this possible? How could a complete, boundless universe be filled with true, God-tier advanced, grade God spirits and high-tier deity level God spirits? What about the other God spirits? They did not even have any at the intermediate grade? Zhou Zhou did not think too much about it and directly raised his doubts with the great lunar extinction lifeless demonic blade. And this Master God-tier divine artifact immediately gave Zhou Zhou the answer. According to the artifact spirit of the Master God-tier divine artifact, the laws of the great lunar exterminating boundless universe were somewhat similar to the laws of the high continent. By killing enemies, he could obtain slaughter energy to raise his strength. He could even convert the law comprehension into his own law comprehension. This world could be said to be filled with slaughter because of this. Not only did the spirit of the Master God-tier divine artifact not stop this trend, he even encouraged this kind of killing behavior in order to allow the laws of this world to grow. For this reason, every 100,000 years, it would hold a killing conference within the world. The conference was divided into 3 competitions. They were the demigod legendary tier competition, the high tier deity level competition, and the true god tier performance competition. The 3 participants were legendary level extraordinary individuals, high tier deity level god spirits, and true god tier. Only by killing 10,000 legendary tier superhumans or 100 high tier deity level god spirits or defeating all the other true gods in these 3 competitions could they win. The winner would not only have an unparalleled status in the boundless universe. Furthermore, the spirit of the Master God-tier divine artifact would personally take action and forcefully raise their strength from the legendary tier to the high-tier deity level, or from the high-tier deity level to the true God tier. As for the true god tier, they directly became the king of killers of the great lunar exterminating world. Their status was second only to the artifact spirit of the master god tier divine artifact. It could be said that he had truly reached the heavens in a single step. Such a huge reward naturally made countless members of the lifeless clan scramble like ducks. Even if the price was death, there were countless members of the lifeless clan who were willing to participate. It was fine if he was unwilling to participate. However, his realm would be locked at the legendary tier or high tier deity level for the rest of his life. He would never be able to advance. The artifact spirit of the master god tier divine artifact wanted to force these experts to participate in this killing conference. Otherwise, they would forever be mediocre. In fact, not many lifeless race members would refuse to participate in this killing conference. The power of laws had already deeply affected them from the moment they were born. The desire to fight and kill was an instinct that had long been engraved in their genes. No life form or god spirit could reject their instincts. And at the true god tier level, these existences who had become true god tier advanced grades rarely killed. This was because the artifact spirit of the master god tier divine artifact also knew that the limit of its closed-off world was that it was very difficult for a master god tier existence to be born. Therefore, in the face of a true god tier advanced grade god spirit, he would instead reduce the number of times he killed in order to preserve the few true god tier existences. At most, they would arrange some world activities occasionally, so that these true god tiers could hone their combat skills without endangering their lives. They would maintain their combat state so that they would not forget their identity as a combat race after not fighting for a long time. This was also why in the killing conference, the demigod competition and the high-tier deity level competition were both life or death competitions. When it came to the true god tier, it became a performance competition. The rules of your world. Zhou Zhou smacked his lips, but did not say anything. What was this? The Lord of all races contest in the High Continent was much more intense than the killing conference. Its killing conference only involved the legendary tier, high tier deity level, and true god tier levels. As for his Lord of all races contest, it involved all the living beings of the myriad races. From ordinary people to the Supreme Will and the Crimson Overlord, no one could escape. Your world's laws are indeed a little strange. There are only high-tier deity-level god spirits and true god-tier advanced grade god spirits. Zhou Zhou sighed. The world was so big that there were all kinds of strange things. The great lunar extinction lifeless demonic blade was silent for a while before sending a message to him. You said that the new killing conference is currently in progress. Do you want to come in and take a look? Zhou Zhou raised his eyebrows and asked with interest. Let's go and take a look. Zhou Zhou said without hesitation. Anyway, there was nothing important tonight. It was not a big problem to watch for a while. Then, his divine body disappeared from the throne with a thought. Great lunar exterminating boundless universe. There was a starry world the size of the middle world here. An incomparably huge hemispherical arena floated in the universe. The area he occupied was comparable to the surface area of hundreds of suns. At this moment, on the vast arena, two true god-tier existences were fighting crazily. Annaba, it's only been 30,000 years since we last met, but your speed seems to have slowed down a little. Have you exhausted all your divine factors by enjoying your harem every day for the past few years? A wild young man in a vigorous blood-red battle suit with his hair scattered wildly behind him said with a maniacal laugh after sending another true god-tier advance grade god spirit flying with a punch. Takta, don't be smug. You're a new true god tier. Who gave you the guts to shout in front of me? I've seen the destruction of the world and killed more enemies than you have. I'll definitely defeat King Killer and win the killing conference this time. Another tall man with a bare head and muscular body, wearing a tight black combat suit, mocked him without hesitation. Arrogant. So what? The two gods looked at each other coldly and then rushed towards each other brazenly, engaging in a close combat with each other. Every time their bodies collided, they would produce extremely terrifying nomological fluctuations, causing the surrounding space-time to tremble faintly. If they were fighting in a middle world, the aftershocks of their battle alone would be enough to destroy or even destroy a middle world. And there were as many as 11 such battles and such vast battlefields in the starry sky. Apart from the true god-tier battlefield arena, around him were tens of millions of legendary tier and high-tier deity level planetary battlefields. More than 100 million legendary tier lifeless clan members and more than 1,000 superior level divine god spirits gathered on their respective planets' battlefields to fight to the death with their opponents. All the lifeless race individuals did not hold back. It was not only because they were members of the lifeless clan who yearned for battle and slaughter, but also because they knew that if they held back in such a battle, the other party would definitely not spare their lives because of their benevolence. Instead, they would take the opportunity to take their own lives. Once they entered the battlefield, they would either die or be instantly killed. This was the rule of the killing conference. Kill. The champion of this killing conference's demigod competition will definitely be me. My family is waiting for me. I can't lose. As long as I survive the killing conference, I can become the ruler of my galaxy. I can overturn the rule of those corrupt people and save my family. All the lifeless race individuals were fighting crazily for their own goals, and the lifeless race members who did not participate in the Slaughter Congress were also watching this grand event in the entire universe through the broadcast. At the highest point of all the arenas, a genuine deity level in full golden armor with only his eyes exposed sat there, looking down at all the participants. Let's fight. Fight to your death. Only the final victor among you can challenge me. I will give you the chance to challenge me, the uncrowned king of the Slaughter Conference, Galamans. He muttered softly to himself. His eyes were filled with an incomparably terrifying desire to fight, just as this uncrowned king was looking forward to the appearance of his opponent. Zhou Zhou was also standing with a white-robed boy who was less than a meter tall at a spot where the life forms of this world could not observe him. Is he the strongest true god you mentioned, Galamans, who won 12 consecutive championships in the Killing Conference? Zhou Zhou looked at him and asked curiously. Yes, master. The white-robed boy, who was also the master god-tier divine artifact spirit of the great lunar extinction lifeless demonic blade, said indifferently. He was not deliberately dissatisfied with Zhou Zhou. Instead, as the artifact spirit of the master god divine artifact that controlled the great lunar law and the law of extinction, he was destined to not have too many other emotions. And facing his master who knew everything about him, he would not put on any unnecessary disguises. When this true god tier was at the legendary tier, he had already grasped a law understanding comparable to a top-notch high-tier deity level. Back then, he won all the battles and became the champion of the demigod competition at the Killing Conference. After becoming a high-tier deity level, he quickly raised his comprehension of laws to the true god tier. Then, he became the champion of the high-tier deity level competition in an invincible manner and became an advanced grade true god. After that, he experienced 100,000 years of cultivation and participated in the true god tier exhibition competition of the next Killing Conference. Then, in the exhibition competition, he defeated the other 10 true god tiers without any suspense and became King of Killings. After that, he has experienced a total of 12 Killing Conferences. In these 12 Killing Conferences, he has always defeated the true god tier who dared to challenge he without any suspense. He has always been the champion of the true god tier exhibition competition. He is ranked first in terms of talent and strength among all the lifeless clan members I've seen. The artifact spirit side. Zhou Zhou nodded. He glanced at the other party, and the other party's attribute information appeared in his eyes. Soon, he had seen through this fellow's background. Indeed, the potential of a master god tier advanced grade. Zhou Zhou was surprised. This was an innate master god tier advanced grade possessor with potential. They weren't the advanced grade master gods in his territory who had relied on the sword of Xian Yuan, the Sun Moon Star Sword, the Book of the God Spirit, and other treasures and talents to level up. Even though there was no difference between the two, it would still make Zhou Zhou think highly of him. Your world has given birth to a treasure. Zhou Zhou smiled and glanced at the artifact spirit of the master god-tier divine artifact. It's good that it's useful to master. The artifact spirit was very obedient when it spoke and did things, but its eyes and expression were very indifferent, making it look very cute. The artifact spirit was very obedient when it spoke and did things, but its eyes and expression were very indifferent, making it look very cute. Later, this king will give you this world a few master god tier level nomological supplements to nourish your world. Zhou Zhou laughed and said generously, "Thank you, master." The white-robed boy's indifferent eyes showed some fluctuations, and he finally said happily. Zhou Zhou smiled. He thought for a moment and said, "From today onwards, I'll call you Lifeless Boy. It's not nice to call you an artifact spirit." "Thank you for the name, master." Lifeless Boy said happily. Zhou Zhou nodded and asked, "How many true god-tier and high-tier deity levels can I take away from you?" "Your Majesty can take them all. However, I hope your Majesty won't take the other extraordinaires away for the time being. Firstly, most of the world's energy in this world is condensed on their bodies. If His Majesty takes away all the extraordinary individuals below the God Spirit level, the great lunar exterminating boundless universe will immediately enter a weakened state because of the world's energy leakage. My main divine artifact will also immediately fall into a weakened state, and there will even be a risk of its grade being reduced. Secondly, no one below the God Spirit level has the physique to ascension. Only the God Spirit's divine body is qualified to ascend. If Master takes them away, their strength, condition, and even their lives will be severely affected. Thirdly, superhumans below the God Spirit level can quickly improve through killing in my world. It's even faster than killing in the supreme law environment outside. In addition, the time flow ratio between my boundless universe and His Majesty's supreme continent is 10,000 to 1. If you place these extraordinary humans in my world to kill and advance, I can provide you with an endless stream of God's spirit-level experts to serve you in the future. Will do as you say. Zhou Zhou thought for a moment and agreed readily. In any case, he didn't lack ordinary soldiers below the God Spirit level. What he lacked were God spirits and true God tier existences. The lifeless child's request didn't go against his requirements. "Thank you for your understanding, Master." Lifeless Boy said respectfully. "Where did you learn so much etiquette at such a young age?" Zhou Zhou rebuked jokingly. "I'm not young anymore. Besides, I learned these etiquettes from these lifeless race." Lifeless child elucidated seriously. All right. When Zhou Zhou listened this, he waved his hand and did not want to care anymore. Then, he continued looking at the competition in front of him. In the next month, which was about 25 minutes in the real world, Zhou Zhou stayed in the great lunar exterminating boundless universe. The lifeless child and him had watched most of the competitions as ordinary spectators. They had a higher grasp of the lifeless clan and their combat talent. This lifeless race is indeed an ancient race with a unique combat civilization. They actually imprinted all the laws they comprehended into their physical genes to create a unique nomological combat body. They integrated the power of the laws into simple melee combat. This makes their punches and kicks have the power to shake the world and even break the laws. The combat method that uses close combat as the core has also given rise to combat uniforms, combat weapons, undying war potions, combination combat techniques, martial arts divine books, and various other races and civilization inheritances of the lifeless race. There are 3 commoner professions in the high continent. Martial artists are one of them. The martial arts civilization of the lifeless clan can be seen as the path to advancement for top-notch martial artists. Zhou Zhou pondered as he sat in the audience. Naturally, he performed not forget that besides the top rare professions such as the Lord of the End, he also had a martial artist profession. This profession gazed ordinary, but it was precisely because it was ordinary that it had been walked by many life forms and even God spirits, opening up the furthest path. In reality, many God spirits, true God tiers, and even master God tiers had walked the path of martial artists. Previously, he had been focused on cultivating the Lord's laws, so he hadn't been able to put in much effort on the path of a martial artist. Now that he observed the combat-type civilization of the lifeless race, he suddenly had some new ideas about this path. If I combine the Lord's law with the martial artist profession path, what will I create? Zhou Zhou boldly thought. Before he could think for long, he listened the surrounding audience suddenly cheer excitedly. Master, the champion of the high-tier deity-level competition has been born. He has already received my blessing and advanced to an advanced grade true God spirit. Next, this champion will challenge the last true God tier to seize the other party's strength level. This is because the limit of my boundless universe can't accommodate too many high-level true God tier experts. Therefore, only one true God tier advanced grade can exist between the two. The other fellow can only die or give up his strength and surrender. After the challenge ends, the true God tier exhibition competition will officially begin. Lifeless Child's indifferent voice sounded. Zhou Zhou was stunned for a moment before his interest was piqued. Let's go and watch this true God tier exhibition match. He smiled. He was not interested in the so-called challenge. However, he was very interested in the true God tier exhibition competition. The strongest true God tier. Let me see how strong this subordinate of mine is. And then, let this king try too. Zhou Zhou admitted that his hands were itching. Killing Conference, King Killer Selection Arena Number 11. This arena was the combined size of more than 1,000 suns. Moreover, at the outermost area of this arena and the seats of the audience, there was also a layer of world wall set up to prevent the aftershock of the true God tier battle from leaking out and hurting the world outside the arena and the audience in the audience around the arena. At this moment, a snow-white and beautiful member of the ice demon race, Siwa, who was called a superstar in the universe by the billions of life forms in the great lunar exterminating boundless universe, was standing on the host stage, explaining the competition to the audience in the audience and the audience in front of the cameras. Hello, everyone. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm your flower of ice and blood, Siwa. Did you look forward to my appearance when you didn't see me earlier? This high-tier, deity-level advanced grade beauty from the ice blood demon race boldly displayed her charm to all the audience the moment she arrived. Whether it was the VIP audience in the audience seats or the audience in front of the video broadcast, they all cheered, regardless of gender. Clearly, he was a superstar who was loved by both men and women. Siwa then said a few words to warm up the atmosphere. Seeing that the atmosphere was almost done, he started the official commentary without any hesitation. Next, our newly advanced true God tier God spirit, the true God of truce and war, Xia Luo, will fight against our previous true God, the true God of destruction and killing. Aluka. Next, our newly advanced true God, the true God of self, cut and war, Xia Luo will fight against our previous true God, the true God of destruction and killing, Aluka. When the two of them appeared, the billions of viewers present and the trillions of viewers in front of the broadcast screen cheered. In particular, Xia Luo and the clansmen from Aluka's hometown were shouting crazily. The true God of destruction and mountain god, Aluka, heard the billions of spectators cheering for him. He immediately raised his hands and closed his eyes, enjoying the admiration of the audience for him. On the other hand, Xia Luo had a cold expression on his face. However, his right hand, which was holding the weapon in his hand, tightened its grip. At this moment, the host's voice sounded again. He first introduced Aluka's basic situation. Then, when he introduced Xia Luo, his voice was clearly a few pitches higher with a very excited tone. Ladies and gentlemen, this contestant Xia Luo in front of us is not simple. That's because he's not only the strongest high-tier deity-level champion in the high-tier deity-level competition, but he's also the strongest demigod champion in this year's Killing Conference. That's right. Contestant Xia Luo first won the demigod tournament through the demigod tournament and advanced to the high-tier deity-level elementary grade. Through the authority of he as a high-tier deity-level god spirit, he also participated in the high-tier deity-level tournament. Furthermore, with his astonishing strength, he defeated the previous strongest high-tier deity level and successfully obtained the supreme strength and status of a true god-tier advanced grade. Yes, our contestant jumped up 2 times in a row and became a true god tier. And just a month ago, He was only a legendary tier superhuman. He didn't even meet a god spirit. How unbelievable is this? Siwa said excitedly. His excitement also stirred the emotions of the other audience. They also began to shout Xiao Luo's name. In the face of this even more frenzied cheer, Xiao Luo still maintained a calm expression and carefully examined the enemy in front of him. In the face of this situation, Aluka became a little angry. He was just a junior who had jumped up twice in a row and did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. There were actually so many audience members in the audience who were willing to flatter him. His eyes darkened. He decided to teach this guy a lesson. All right, let's cut to the chase. Let's begin the next challenge. If both sides feel that they can't win against each other, they can choose to surrender and give up this competition to save their lives. Your Excellency can fight to your heart's content before the outcome is determined. There's no need to have any scruples, because the lifeless master will protect you. Siwa retracted his smile and stated solemnly. Then, he left the arena. Now, the challenge will officially begin. Siwa's tone came from the starry sky. These two new true god tiers and the last true god tier immediately rushed towards each other and collided in the blink of an eye. Rumble. The starry sky reverberated with the continuous loud sounds of battle and incomparably intense and crazy cheers. Half a day later, the King Life Killer Selection Arena number 11. Siwa slowly descended from the sky and looked at Xiao Luo, who had fallen to the ground and was no longer breathing, with a face full of regret and pity. What a pity! Our newly advanced true god, Your Excellency Xiao Luo, did not defeat Aluka as he wished and successfully achieved 3 consecutive jumps in the contest to stabilize his position as a true god. In terms of strength, Your Excellency Aluka, the new true god of the previous killing conference, is indeed superior. Let us congratulate Your Excellency Aluka. He has successfully defended the true god tier that the lifeless master bestowed upon him, becoming the final winner of this true god tier challenge tournament. Siwa cheered loudly. At the same time, he looked at Your Excellency Aluka with an infatuated expression. Aluka raised his hands and laughed wildly. He displayed the majestic figure of his nomological combat body to the spectators and all the audience in the great lunar exterminating boundless universe. At the same time, he also noticed Siwa's gaze on him. He could not help but feel his heart skip a beat. It seemed that this little beauty would be looking for him tonight. Thinking of this, he laughed even more arrogantly. At the same time, just as Aluka finished his competition, the other true god tiers who were secretly watching the combat also discussed amongst themselves. I've long seen through this guy's personality. He looks carefree on the surface and looks like he needs a beating, but he's actually very smart. He's just using this attitude on the surface to make the other party let down his guard. This stupid spectators has actually fallen into this guy's trap. They're even cheering for that junior. I'm dying of laughter. I'm willing to call Aluka the strongest actor and the best at acting among the true god tier. You're quite good at praising. This Xiao Luo isn't simple either. I can sense the aura of the Nirvana Law Battle Body from him. Nirvana Law Battle Body? The Law Battle Body that can continuously reincarnate. Nirvana Law Battle Body? The Law Battle Body that can continuously reincarnate. Haha, this fellow is really slow-witted. Fighting is a skill between life and death, but this fellow directly abandoned life and death and became an almost immortal existence. He seems to be able to live for a long time, but his true potential has stopped here. That's right. I thought that this guy was even more heaven, defying than Galamans. I didn't expect him to be just a superficial person. There will only be one Galamans. There won't be another. The Supreme God level cultivators fell silent. Some Supreme God level wanted to refute, but when they opened their mouths, they could not find a reason to refute. He isn't a true God tier, but a true God among true gods. I'm afraid that in the universe, only Your Excellency, the lifeless master, can firmly suppress him. It's meaningless to talk about the lifeless master. Ha ha ha, mine. After the challenge, Siwa appeared again after a while. He announced that the upcoming competition would be the true God tier exhibition competition that everyone was paying attention to. After a long introduction of the true God tier and the rules of the competition, the 11 true bodies all appeared. From the 11th true god Aluka, the 10th true god Gelos, to the top 3 true gods, Hidani, Kulis, and Galamans, every time a true god appeared, the entire great lunar exterminating boundless universe would cheer. When the uncrowned king, Galamans, appeared, all the true gods present looked at this strongest true god as if they were facing a great enemy. However, the lifeless race was indeed a combat race. Even though they had experienced the terror of Galamans, none of the true god tier present was afraid of the other party. Instead, all of them were full of fighting spirit. When Zhou Zhou saw this, he could not help but click his tongue in wonder. The true god tiers on the high continent where he resided were all high and mighty in order to maintain the mysteriousness of a true god tier. This way, not only would his enemies be afraid of him because of his mysteriousness, but it would also make his believers revere him because of his mysteriousness. This would allow him to better harvest faith and suppress people's hearts. However, in the boundless universe of the lifeless child, these true god tiers were all like superstars. Furthermore, it could be seen that they enjoyed the process of being superstars. Most importantly, even though the true god tier who had become a superstar had shortened the distance between them and the believers, it seemed that not only did it not affect their faith, but it was also beneficial for these true god tiers to harvest the faith of their believers. This can also be considered another way to harvest the power of faith of the believers. Zhou Zhou sighed inwardly. Indeed, people still had to walk more and see more different worlds. Only then would they have more comprehension of their own path. In the following period of time, the true god tiers decided the order of the battle by drawing lots. After drawing lots, after 11 days of battle, Galamans once again used his absolute advantage to defend the championship of his 13th Killing Conference True God Tier exhibition match. The strongest true god tier deserved his title. Then, the meeting prepared to hold a ceremony for Galamans to be crowned, so that he would continue to have the supreme status of King of Killers under the witness of the lifeless master. Next, I'll listen to the will of the lifeless master and bestow killing upon your excellency Galamans. Siwa suddenly paused at the end of his sentence. He looked up into the depths of the starry sky in a daze, as if he had heard something unbelievable. Why aren't you continuing? Galamans said in a low voice. Your Excellency, I just received the latest order from the Lord of Lifeless City. The lifeless master said. Siwa swallowed a mouthful of saliva. That his master is about to descend into this world. He also wanted to have some fun with the true god tiers. The true god tier cultivators were in an uproar. All the audience watching the live broadcast were also stunned. The entire great lunar exterminating boundless universe was stirred by this short sentence. What are you talking about? Galamans was also stunned. After a while, he came back to his senses and stared at Siwa. Master of the lifeless master? How can my lord have a master? Furthermore, even if the lifeless master has a master, the lifeless master is already so powerful. How powerful would his master be? How can we play with him? Are you toying with me? Galamans was smart. He immediately guessed that the play the other party was referring to was probably a fight with them. However, even if they joined forces, they were not the lifeless master's match. How could they fight the even more mysterious master of the lifeless master? They wouldn't be able to defeat him even if they attacked together. How would I dare to fool you, Your Excellency? That's indeed what the lifeless master conveyed to me. Siwa felt like crying. Galamans fell silent. He looked at the other true god tiers. The other true god tiers also looked at him. How strong is that master? A true god tier asked boldly. I'll ask, Siwa said nervously. Then, he began to use the ritual to ask. None of the true god tiers spoke at this moment. Nervous? Naturally, they would be nervous. However, they were also very excited. This was because they could finally come into contact with the outside world. A wider world and realms above the true god tier. All the true god tier cultivators yearned for it. Especially the strongest true god tier, Galamans. He had been invincible in this universe for too long. Beings. However, no true god tier in this universe could satisfy his needs. His chance had arrived. He might have a chance to leave this world and fight an even stronger expert as long as he could recognize the master of the lifeless master. Galaman's breathing became heavier. I've received the decree of the lifeless master, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, the lifeless master, said that his master's strength is low-tier deity level intermediate grade. After Siwa finished speaking, he was stunned. The other true god tiers were also stunned. Low-tier deity level intermediate grade? Could it be that the low-tier deity level intermediate grade in the outside universe is already stronger than the true god tier in our world? That's impossible. How can there be such a ridiculous thing? Could it be that some lucky god spirit in the outside universe accidentally recognized Your Excellency, the lifeless master, as its master? The true god tiers muttered. As the top existences in the boundless universe, they had already realized that they were living in a master god tier divine artifact, so it was not surprising that they had guessed this. At this moment, as the top existences in the boundless universe, they had already realized that they were living in a master god tier divine artifact, so it was not surprising that they had guessed this. Everyone, sorry to keep you waiting. The true god tiers were shocked and turned to look. A handsome and perfect existence in the Emperor Dragon robe was sitting beside them, drinking the divine drink they had just poured. Tastes good, Zhou Zhou commented. Greetings, my lord. Galaman sensed that even though the other party was a low-tier deity level intermediate grade, he could still give a bone-piercing sense of danger. He immediately realized that this person was probably his lord's master. He held back the excitement and ecstasy in his heart as he bowed without hesitation. Even though the other true god tiers were a step slower, they also bowed in succession. Their faces were filled with excitement, wishing they could fight them in the next second. Zhou Zhou had already seen many races, but this was the first time he had seen a race as belligerent as the other party. Looks as if you guys can't wait. Then, Zhou Zhou raised his right hand and snapped his fingers. Bang! Boom! A world projection that was infinitely close to the boundless universe descended into this world and swept all the true god tier present, as well as all the other messy things, including cameras, into it. Just as the true god tiers reacted, they saw Zhou Zhou, who was 200,000 kilometers tall, standing in the universe as if an indomitable giant. He exuded a terrifying aura that was infinitely close to that of a master god tier. Then, without using his true god tier divine artifacts, he just stood there and gazed down at all the true god tiers who were, as if ants, and the other god spirits who were involved in this world. He opened his mouth and his voice rumbled, shaking the heavens and earth as it spread throughout the entire universe projection. All of you attack me together. All the true god tier and all the lifeless race audience who saw this scene through the live broadcast were immediately shocked. This lord deliberately wanted to joke with us before, so he displayed his low-tier deity level intermediate grade strength. Now that he's officially playing with us, he revealed his true strength. The 10th true god tier said hesitantly. The other true god tiers had similar thoughts. His current strength should be the true strength of the master of the lifeless master. Only in this way could he barely be qualified to be the master of the lifeless master, right? At the thought of this, they suddenly felt a little strange. If they were qualified to be the master of the lifeless master with just this strength, then it didn't seem impossible for them. I don't think so. At this moment, Galamans, who had been staring at Zhou Zhou, suddenly spoke with a solemn expression. It's not. Then why did this lord's strength suddenly undergo such a huge change? The third true god tier, Hidani, was stunned for a moment before asking with a frown. The third true god tier, Hidani, was stunned for a moment before asking with a frown. Is it possible? This lord has some kind of heaven-defying law skill that can directly increase his strength from the low-tier deity level intermediate grade to this level? Galamans took a deep breath and said, How is that possible? How can there be such a heaven-defying law skill? Galamans, are you kidding me? The true god tiers widened their eyes and looked at Galamans in disbelief. But soon, they looked at the terrifying figure of Zhou Zhou, who was motionless and quietly waiting for they to attack, and gradually fell silent. They had indeed guessed this possibility, but they just couldn't believe it. In fact, they knew in their hearts that with the other party's identity, there was no need for him to play tricks on him. The other party might really be a low-tier deity-level intermediate-grade faction and had only used some kind of heaven-defying law skill. No flaws. At that moment, the second true god tier, Coolus, looked at Zhou Zhou's figure with a solemn expression and said, "I can't see any flaws in him." When the lifeless race fought, the method they were best at defeating the other party was to observe the flaws in the other party's body and use them to win. The second true god tier, Coolus, was one of the best, second only to Galamant's. However, he couldn't see any flaws in the other party at all. Even the laws around the other party were so flawless, as though they were tolerant. "I can't see it either." "Me too." The other true god tiers also spoke one after another, their expressions gradually turning solemn. During the battle between the true god tiers, they would notice the flaws in the other party's body. Even Galamans did not dare to say that he could not reveal any flaws in the battle. However, this lord in front of him actually did not have a single flaw. Could this lord be the legendary heavenly martial god? The third true god tier, Hidani, muttered, "The heavenly martial god." That was a realm that all the combatants of the lifeless race pursued with all their might. Even a true god tier walked the path of pursuing the heavenly martial god. The heavenly martial god was to grasp the ultimate existence of martial arts. Their every move was in accordance with the rules of martial arts, especially in battle. It could be said to be natural and flawless. Such existences did not even need to specially learn any martial arts combat skills, because their every move was martial arts, or rather, they had already become martial arts themselves. At the same time, the heavenly martial god was also a path that they had developed to reach the realm above the true god tier. If any of them could reach the heavenly martial god realm, coupled with their true god tier advanced grade strength, it was very likely that they could break through the barrier of the boundless universe and advance to a higher level. In addition, the heavenly martial god did not refer to the level of strength, but a martial arts realm. Logically speaking, ordinary people might become heavenly martial gods because of their high comprehension. However, it was extremely difficult. Galamants, who had the world's limit potential, had yet to become a heavenly martial god. This showed how difficult it was. No matter what, this Lord has already ordered us to act. Furthermore, he is still waiting for us. We cannot let him wait too long. At this moment, the second true god, Coolus, said in a deep voice, "That's right, but this attitude of victory really makes me unhappy. Let me have a taste of this Lord's skills first." The fighting spirit in Galamant's heart burned wildly. He immediately turned into a golden stream of light and rushed towards the other party. At the same time, when he flew over, he also took out his weapon. They were two high-tiered, deity-level golden scimitars called the Twin Golden Blades. He spun crazily, and the two scimitars in his hands turned into a hurricane of golden blades that swept towards him. An extremely pure aura of the law of sword that seemed to be able to destroy everything erupted from his body. All the laws seemed to be shattered in the face of this saber hurricane, leaving only the sharp saber chi that filled the sky to dominate the world. Galamant's true god tier title is True God of Saber. He's an extremely rare and pure true god who only follows the law of saber. According to the lifeless boy, the other party's sword Dao domain is already infinitely close to that of a master god tier. It's just that the promotion energy in his body is insufficient, and he hasn't comprehended the power of will. Coupled with the limitations of the boundless universe, he has been stuck in this realm. Now that I've seen it with my own eyes, it's true. 1/ to slay all techniques. When Zhou Zhou saw the other party's laws, he was secretly amazed. This is a super true god tier that's not inferior to Emperor Pangu at his peak back then. He admired this fellow even more. After that, he didn't defend and only quietly waited for the other party to fly in front of him before slashing at his chaotic divine body. Clang! A loud bang that resounded throughout the divine kingdom's world projection sounded. Then, Galamans gazed at the dual sabers that did not even cut through the skin of his opponent's divine body and could not help but be stunned. This. Galamans found it hard to accept. He had thought that there was a gap between him and the other party, but why was the gap so huge? He had used almost all his strength to attack, but he was actually unable to break through the other party's defense? Is this still AF asterisk King Divine Body? He wasn't fighting a top-notch defensive true God-tier divine artifacts, right? Galamans thought to himself. However, he did not expect that the complaint in his soul would really guess the truth. Now that Zhou Zhou had become a king, his force and domain were already infinitely close to the limits of the true God-tier realm. Even though there was still an extremely difficult gap to cross from the master God-tier realm, very few people in this realm could defeat him. And the force of the chaotic divine body was closely related to his strength realm, which meant his current chaotic divine body had already reached a force comparable to top-grade defensive true God-tier divine artifacts. No matter how strong Galamans was, it was naturally unbelievable for him to easily break through defensive true God-tier divine artifacts. Then he wouldn't be a true God-tier, but a master God tier. Even if it was a master god who had just entered the master god tier elementary grade, it would still take some effort to break through a defensive true god tier divine artifacts. Speaking of which, when Galamans saw that his full strength attack did not work, he was very indignant. He took a deep breath and suddenly retreated more than 100 kilometers. Then he raised his twin sabers and charged at Zhou Zhou's divine body again. Then he slashed his body with all his might again. If he didn't do it once, he would do it again. If it didn't happen the second time, he would do it 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times. In the blink of an eye, Galamans turned into countless afterimages and slashed at one of Zhou Zhou's divine bodies more than 1,000 times. Not far away, upon seeing this scene, Kulis, Zyrota, and the other true god tiers of the lifeless race were initially shocked by Zhou Zhou's strength. However, they felt a sense of sorrow and fear in their hearts. The unquestionably strongest among them actually had such difficulty in attacking this lord from the outside world. They couldn't even break through the other party's surface defense. Fortunately, the other party was kind and did not have any ill intentions. If they were from the outside world with malicious intent, wouldn't they be powerless against an enemy of this level? Attack together. However, you have to be careful. Even though we can attack with all our might, the methods we use can't be too inferior. Remember, this lord is only playing with us. Don't be impatient and use unpresentable methods. At that time, if you want to die, don't blame me for reminding you first. As the second true god tier of the lifeless race, Kulis was silent for a few seconds before speaking. Okay, don't worry, we're not that stupid. The true god tiers did not hesitate. Even though combat-type true god tiers like them would easily go crazy if they fought, it was not a problem for them to deliberately control their combat emotions and rationality. As for whether it was fair to attack together, now, the two of them were not on the same level at all. There was not much of a problem for them to fight side by side. After that, they did not waste any time. They immediately took out their trump cards and charged at Zhou Zhou. Then, they attacked Zhou Zhou together with Galamans. When Zhou Zhou saw this scene, he laughed loudly. His voice shook the universe, but he did not say anything. Instead, he allowed them to attack his divine body. In any case, with the strength of the chaotic divine body, he was not afraid that these fellows could injure him. If he wanted to subdue a group of experts who were born to admire strength, he had to be stronger, more arrogant, and more terrifying than them. Zhou Zhou was now demonstrating this point. Therefore, he was very patient. After half an hour, the sixth true god, Sax, stopped his attack. He looked at Zhou Zhou, who was like a heaven-splitting giant, and suddenly began to retreat with a look of fear. Right on the heels of that, the eighth true god, Great Yelu, stopped his attack with a look of horror on his face. He retreated to the same position as Sax and quietly hovered in the air. Next was the second true god tier, Kulis. The 11th true god tier, Aluka. 9th true god tier, Feni. The true god tiers of the lifeless clan stopped their attacks and retreated. They were all afraid. The lord in front of them was a terrifying existence that they could not defeat or even injure no matter what. At this moment, only Galamans, a true god tier, was still attacking. He seemed to have gone completely crazy. He kept attacking a spot in an attempt to break through the defense. However, No matter how many times he attacked, Zhou Zhou's chaotic divine body was like an indestructible supreme barrier. No matter how he attacked, he could not injure the divine body at all. Suddenly, he calmed down and looked at Zhou Zhou quietly. "What law battle body is this?" he asked after a few seconds of silence. "The chaotic divine body." Zhou Zhou's voice rumbled like a high and mighty god explaining to the world. "The law of chaos. Is it the supreme law known as the source of all laws?" The law of chaos. Is it the supreme law known as the source of all laws? The law of chaos is indeed called the source of all laws, but in terms of supreme, it's not qualified. Zhou Zhou chuckled. "Above the chaotic laws, is there an even stronger law? What is that?" Galaman's eyes lit up as he asked. "The Tao cannot be taught lightly. You haven't comprehended any signs of that law yet. Even if I tell you, you won't understand. Instead, you'll rely on your imagination to comprehend it randomly. This will be detrimental to your Tao. You follow your own path. Those who are poor in their Tao will end up in the same place. When you reach a certain level, you'll naturally know what you want to know." Zhou Zhou patiently reminded him. This god had extraordinary potential. He even surpassed any subject he had ever seen. He still thought highly of him. "Thank you for your guidance, sir." At this moment, Galamans was completely convinced by Zhou Zhou. He fell silent for a second before saying solemnly, "I still have one more move. Please guide me, my lord. After this move, no matter what the outcome is, I have nothing to regret." "Oh." Zhou Zhou's interest was piqued. "Try it. Your Excellency, please be careful. I've never displayed this move in front of others, but the power of this move is already so strong that it's about to leave the true God-tier level." Galamans said solemnly. "What?" As soon as these words were spoken, the true God-tier cultivators were in an uproar. They looked at each other in shock. This guy was actually holding back when he was fighting them? All the Wuxing clansmen who heard this through the live broadcast were excited and looked forward to Galaman's next performance. "Come." Zhou Zhou's voice was low. Galamans took a deep breath and sat cross-legged in the void. Then, he held the saber with both hands and stood to the left and right. He closed his eyes. After a while, a Galaman's phantom flew out of his divine body and slashed at Zhou Zhou's divine body with two sabers. Master God-tier elementary grade law skill, Heaven Slaying. This strike carried a brilliant might. It condensed his supreme obsession to break through the cage of this world and see a new world at a higher level. It was just like what a book said. "I want the sky to no longer cover my eyes. I want this land to no longer be able to bury my heart." At this moment, Zhou Zhou actually felt a sense of threat from the saber. Galamans had already passed through space and arrived in front of Zhou Zhou. He slashed at Zhou Zhou's body with his two sabers. However, at this moment, a gentle holy white light lit up on the surface of Zhou Zhou's huge divine body, illuminating the entire boundless universe. Under the light, one could vaguely see a layer of bright white shield that was imprinted with everything in the world, the sun, moon, and stars, covering Zhou Zhou's body. The things in the world and the sun, moon, and stars on the armor seemed to really exist. They grew and developed according to their trajectories. It was very unbelievable. It was the defensive true God-tier advance grade true God artifacts, sun-moon concentrated armor. In the next moment, Galaman's saber landed on the sun-moon-star armor and paused for a moment before slowly and firmly cutting into it. Galaman's actually caused damage to a true God-tier divine artifacts? Zhou Zhou clicked his tongue in wonder. If not for his true God-tier divine artifacts automatically protecting him, the saber would have really struck him. Even the defensive true God-tier divine artifacts of a true God-tier advanced grade couldn't withstand his saber. If he were to cut a small hole in it, his chaotic divine body would probably be cut open. At this moment, when Galaman saw that his full-strength saber had penetrated more than a meter deep into the true God-tier divine artifacts in front of him and was unable to advance any further, he smiled bitterly. He pulled out his two sabers with force and bowed to Zhou Zhou. He uttered sincerely, "I concede defeat." When the true God-tiers, other lifeless race god spirits, and ordinary lifeless race members who were watching the battle heard this, they could not help but feel inexplicably disappointed. All the most powerful beings in the entire universe had been defeated by one person. They felt that their race's confidence had been dealt a blow. You don't have to feel hurt. At this moment, the lifeless master's voice resounded in the hearts of all the lifeless race god spirits. It uttered indifferently and proudly. When my master was at the legendary tier level, he had killed a pseudo-true god with the combat power of a true god. As soon as he became a low-tier deity level elementary grade god spirit, he killed 3 true god-tier enemies. His Majesty is only at the low-tier deity level intermediate grade now, but among the true god tier in the outside world, there are very few opponents who are compatible with my master. It's normal for you to lose. As soon as these words were spoken, all the true god tier were dumbfounded. Even Galamans, who had just lost, could not help but feel dazed when he heard this. This battle record, is it a joke? At this moment, Zhou Zhou's voice sounded. You're good. 9-colored divine radiance flashed from his body. When everyone saw him again, they saw that he had already returned to his original height. He walked in front of Galamans and nodded slightly at him. He chuckled and said, if it weren't for the fact that my true god-tier divine artifacts automatically came out to protect me, you might really have been able to injure me. If it weren't for the fact that my true god-tier divine artifacts automatically came out to protect me, you power really have been able to injure me. As for this place, you don't have to worry. I will specially build a cross-border teleportation gate for you, so that you can voyage between the 2 worlds freely. By the way, I am the Lord of the Blazing Sun Kingdom, Zhou Zhou. My designation is Common People's Regal. If you choose to abide me, you can address me as your Majesty in the future. Zhou Zhou uttered to all the lifeless race god spirits. We are willing. All the lifeless race god spirits agreed without hesitation. They could not think of any reason to refuse following such a promising super expert who had broader horizons and could return to this place at any time. Zhou Zhou nodded slightly. Then, he briefly introduced the situation of the Supreme Continent and his territory to the gods. With a thought, he opened a space gate to the king's city. Then, he brought all the true god tiers and god spirits back to the Blazing Sun King's city. Only the living beings of the great lunar exterminating boundless universe were left to spread the legend of this common people's regal, Zhou Zhou. From the moment Zhou Zhou entered the great lunar exterminating boundless universe to the moment he came out, it seemed like a long time, but it had only been less than 3 to 4 minutes in reality. However, it still gave all the god spirits in the Blazing Sun Kingdom a fright. When these god spirits and true god tiers from the great lunar exterminating boundless universe appeared, they almost immediately sensed their existence. Then, they immediately flew out and looked at these god spirits and true god tiers in shock and vigilance. As for the ordinary life forms below god spirits, because their levels were low, they could not sense the existence of these god spirits who deliberately hid their auras. Therefore, they did not know that a large group of people of foreign race god spirits and true god tiers had suddenly descended upon the Blazing Sun Kingdom. Everyone, don't think too much. These are the worshipped god spirits and true god tiers that I've just recruited to join our Blazing Sun Kingdom. Zhou Zhou appeased the gods. The gods were shocked when they heard this. What method did His Majesty use to actually find a lineup comparable to all the ordinary god spirit reserves and true god tier reserves of the already extinct Shadow Clan in such a short period of time? Then, they became excited and ecstatic. As the god spirits of the Blazing Sun Kingdom, their kingdom's strength and influence had become stronger. Therefore, the first to benefit would naturally be the native god spirits and true god tiers. And the first to be unlucky was naturally the enemy of the Blazing Sun Kingdom. At this moment, for the umpteenth time, they felt that joining the Blazing Sun Kingdom and becoming the Blazing Sun Kingdom's worshipped god spirit was the right choice. As for Yellow Emperor, Buddha Lord, Patriarch Lu, and White River, they were naturally the most surprised. Now that Zhou Zhou was the patriarch of the human race, he had become stronger. Other than the Blazing Sun Kingdom being the first to benefit, the entire human race would definitely be the second to benefit. The Yellow Emperor looked at Sun Wukong, Yang Jian, and the other human god spirits with a proud and even smug smile. It was as if he was saying, "How about the patriarch I chose for you?" What else could the god spirits of the human race say? It could only be said that the veteran speaker had a good eye for people. I finally realized that every time we see the patriarch, he will give us a huge surprise. Every time, no exceptions. Patriarch Lu sighed. The Yellow Emperor and the other true god tiers nodded in understanding. In the sky, when Zhou Zhou saw the reaction of the divine spirits, he smiled. He turned to look at Galamans and the other true god tiers and god spirits of the lifeless race. On behalf of the Blazing Sun Kingdom, this king welcomes everyone to join our kingdom. In a while, let's go to my divine kingdom world together and hold a state banquet of the highest level. I'll treat it as a welcome party for you. At the kingdom's banquet, I will send someone to tell you in detail what specific benefits there will be to becoming the worshipped god spirit and true god tier of the Blazing Sun Kingdom. For example, the time world, the true god tier divine artifacts, the myriad races inheritance tower, the military merit exchange system, status, wealth, cultivation world, and so on are all benefits for our country. I believe that you won't be disappointed or regret it after you find out. Zhou Zhou smiled. Thank you, Your Majesty. Galamans and the other god spirits of the lifeless race said respectfully. They were also looking forward to it. From His Majesty's way of dealing with people, his actions were definitely not bad. And most importantly, they could now clearly feel the high level of this continent. It was so high that even true god tiers like them could not understand it. In such a high-level world, there must be many super experts for them to challenge and satisfy their desire to fight. Challenging the strong. This was the second most important reason why they followed His Majesty to this world. As for the first important goal, it was naturally to serve His Majesty. The gods and spirits who were already affected by the peaceful times were already looking forward to their future lives in the Blazing Sun Kingdom. At the same time, they looked at the god spirits and true gods of the Blazing Sun Kingdom, led by the Yellow Emperor, the Buddha Lord, and the other true gods. They couldn't help but secretly click their tongues. His Majesty's influence in this world was indeed strong. Looking at the lineup of these people, even if His Majesty did not make a move, just these ministers and subordinates of His Majesty could easily defeat all the factions in the boundless universe. He could challenge them one-on-one later. Some true god tiers and god spirits of the lifeless race looked at the Yellow Emperor and the others and were already eager to give it a try. The Yellow Emperor and the others also noticed the burning gazes of these god spirits. They were old and wise, and they immediately saw the astonishing fighting spirit in the other party's eyes that originated from the depths of their bloodline. Did His Majesty find a group of warlike gods? The Yellow Emperor said in surprise. However, he did not dislike it. A warlike god is even better. The Buddha Lord smiled. Although his gaze was as gentle as the flow of time, his words were extremely firm. In the struggle for supremacy among the myriad races, what we need the most are these brave and warlike god spirits. Those turtle god spirits who only know how to cultivate diligently and only want to protect themselves when they encounter war. To us, having them is no different from not having them. Sometimes, it's even better to not have them. Fair enough. Yellow Emperor and the others nodded. Then, they heard their patriarch announce that he would hold a welcoming banquet for these new true god tiers and god spirits in the divine kingdom world. The gods cheered when they heard this. Then, under Zhou Zhou's lead, they headed to the divine kingdom passageway and arrived in the divine kingdom world. As the prime minister, Zheng Yuanqi was indeed responsible for arranging this welcoming banquet. As they were all superhumans and even god spirits who helped to set up the banquet. In less than a moment, a grand banquet that could be stated to be world-class was arranged. One after another, god spirit-level dishes were sent up respectfully by legendary-level waiters. They were placed in front of the god spirits and true god tiers, causing them to exclaim in surprise and excitement. In the end, there were even 36 master god tier dishes that were served, causing all the true god tier present to exclaim in disbelief. Their gazes were fixed on these 36 master god tier dishes, unwilling to move. Even though these 36 master god tier dishes were not personally made by master god tier master chefs, They were simply made by some true gods who were good at cooking using master god tier ingredients. It was said to be a master god tier dish. In reality, it was just a feast of ingredients meticulously made by master god tier ingredients. Even so, it was enough to make these god spirits, and even so true god tiers, go crazy. The laws contained in master god tier ingredients were all master god tier laws. Otherwise, they would not be respected as master god tier ingredients. Even if such ingredients were not made into finished delicacies, it was enough to provide them, the true god tier, with a higher level of comprehension. It was even enough to provide them with comprehension of the master god tier path. It could be stated that eating a mouthful was better than cultivating for 1,000 years, or even so more. Is this our welcoming banquet? Isn't it too extravagant? Even master god tier ingredients have been served, and there are so many of them. Oh my god, how many master god tier ingredients do we need to create these 36 god tier delicacies? Quick, split it up and eat it. It's rude. His Majesty hasn't eaten it yet. How can you be the first to eat it? Haha, I'm so happy. I'm afraid that even so some master god tier have never eaten so many sumptuous dishes, right? That's for sure. Do you think master god tier ingredients can be found everywhere? After eating this welcoming banquet, I feel that dying is worth it. The true god tiers beamed with joy. As for those god spirits below the high-tier deity level, they could only be envious. But this couldn't be helped. Master god tier ingredients were limited, and not everyone could get a share. However, this scene had an excitation effect on them. His Majesty's generosity could be stated to be known by all. As long as they advanced to the true god tier level in the future, they might have the chance to eat these master god tier dishes. Your Majesty, come and try this master god tier intermediate grade dish, 9 Immortals Soup. Zheng Yuanqi personally served the best master god tier intermediate grade dish and said to Zhou Zhou with a smile. Sure. Zhou Zhou also knew that if he didn't eat it, none of the other god spirits would dare to eat it. Therefore, without any hesitation, he scooped a small bowl and slowly tasted it. After he finished eating, he put down his bowl and smiled. Well done. Do you want some too? Your Majesty, you must be joking. Zheng Yuanqi smiled bitterly. Even though I'm already a low-tier deity-level elementary grade god spirit, I still can't digest this master god-tier delicacy. If I dare to take a bite, my soul will probably ascend in the next moment and stay in your divine kingdom forever, Your Majesty. Even so, Zheng Yuanqi could still feel how much His Majesty valued him. How much trust and recognition did he have to make a minister like him eat the same delicacies as His Majesty? The more he thought about it, the more excited he became. Zhou Zhou smiled. Your Majesty, would you like to speak? Zheng Yuanqi forcibly appeased his emotions and asked Zhou Zhou. The other god spirits had actually been paying attention to Zhou Zhou. Upon hearing this, they immediately quietened down and looked at Zhou Zhou in unison. None of the god spirits dared to speak, let alone move their chopsticks to eat. When Zhou Zhou saw this scene, he could not help but think of the banquets he had experienced on Earth. All right, I'll tell you then. Zhou Zhou pondered for a moment before standing up and looking at the gods. All the gods looked at Zhou Zhou. When Zhou Zhou saw this, he suddenly smiled and said, Then I'll say one thing. Welcome all the god spirits of the lifeless race to my Blazing Sun Kingdom. In the future, I hope that we can work together to make the Blazing Sun Kingdom stronger and become an Empire-level Lord faction, a Divine Kingdom-level Lord faction, or even an even stronger Lord faction. In addition, we can also climb to a higher peak on our respective god spirits' paths. Okay, that's the end of the speech. Eat and drink. After saying that, Zhou Zhou sat down. The god spirits were stunned for a moment before feeling a little regretful. Even though they really wanted to eat those god spirit level delicacies, as His Majesty's loyal subordinates, they really wanted to hear more from His Majesty. Your Majesty, what you said was too short. Zheng Yuanqi smiled bitterly. Zhou Zhou smiled and did not say anything. In fact, he had wanted to say even less. However, he suddenly remembered that the state banquet was held to welcome the true god tiers, so he added these two sentences. Otherwise, he would have made all the gods present eat and drink. Oh yes, Take out a small portion of these master god tier ingredients and distribute it to Bai Yun, Wu Xian, Qi Xintian, Guo Xiao, Ying Ning, and Yuan Kong. Zhou Zhou instructed. Yes, Your Majesty. Zheng Yuanqi smiled and nodded. Then, he personally sent someone to make it. Soon, Bai Yun and the rest received 36 small plates of master god tier level delicacies. His Majesty specially instructed me to send this over. Even though all of you have yet to become true god tier, you already have a high tier deity level body. You should be able to barely use some master god tier dishes. Just try to avoid overeating. When Zheng Yuanqi reached the end, he specially reminded her. Thank you, Your Majesty. When Bai Yun and the rest saw these dishes and heard Zheng Yuanqi's words, they were instantly touched and promptly bowed to Zhou Zhou in the distance. The next step was for the gods to drink to their heart's content and enjoy the delicacies. As Zhou Zhou drank the wine, he looked at the joyous scene in front of him and might not help smiling. Such a scene could be regarded as a myth on the cerulean planet or Earth. Then what am I? God King. Speaking of which, with my current power, it's more than enough to form a pantheon group. At least it's much stronger than the Octavel Pantheon and the Vapolius Pantheon. But there's no need for that, Zhou Zhou thought. As the Lord of the Gods, his relationship with the gods under his command was much closer than the relationship between the gods in the Pantheon group. Thinking back to the past, when I first met Octavel, I had the status of a young lord and obediently bowed to him. But now I've previously grown to a height that far surpasses Octavel. Now, the only ones who can make me address you respectfully as a senior are probably Master God tier and stronger experts, right? Zhou Zhou sighed inwardly. Then, he did not think too much about it. After he chatted with the gods for a while, he didn't stay any longer. He left Zhou managed clone behind and strolled back to his blazing sun palace. None of the gods present realized that the original Zhou Zhou was now just a clone. At the blazing sun palace, the Heaven Ascension Hall, Zhou Zhou sat on the throne. Below him were Bai Yun and Wu Tu, whom he had called over. I didn't interrupt your meal, did I? Zhou Zhou chuckled and said, Your Majesty, you must be joking. After eating the main god tier delicacy that your Majesty gave us, we were already full. Later on, when I wanted to look for your Majesty seemed to have foreseen it and found us in advance. Bai Yin smiled. It's the identical for me. I'm here to look for His Majesty to report the latest information on the people of foreign races. Wu Tu uttered respectfully. That's also what this king wants to hear. Zhou Zhou nodded. Wu Tu, you go first. Yes, Your Majesty. Wu Tu nodded, then opened his personal terminal and projected all the latest information about the people of foreign races into the air in front of the three deities. Your Majesty, please take a look. Wu Tu pointed at the projected regional map of the Supreme Continent and emphasized on the slowly moving red lines. These are the people of foreign races who were originally prepared to support the Shadow Race. However, after they learned that they had been conquered by us, they promptly changed their direction and prepared to head towards a no-man's land called the Blackrock Mountain region. The Blackrock Mountain region is not under the jurisdiction of any lords or races because there are very few resources and the road conditions are extremely bad. Therefore, there are some fearless outlaws gathered here and they treat this place as their temporary residence. I suspect that they must have communicated beforehand when they went to Blackrock Mountain City almost at the identical time. I'm afraid they're planning something unfavorable to His Majesty. As for the other piece of information, it's about Uriel. According to the information shared by the Starfire mercenary team, Uriel has been secretly gathering troops. Currently, he has gathered more than 1 trillion troops and more than 50 true god tiers. I'm afraid they will make a move in the next few days. Wu Tu introduced. Bai Yun's expression was solemn. Zhou Zhou looked at the projection map and suddenly chuckled. Looks like they really won't give up on me. Just as well. It saves them from running away. They want to kill us, and so do we. When he reached the end of his sentence, also though his tone was very normal, Bai Yun and Wu Tu, who were present, felt a cold, killing intent.
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe.